The Retirement Cafe podcast, the impact of COVID-19 on 50 to 70-year-olds with Anna Dixon. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Retirement Cafe podcast with me, your host, Justin King. If you're thinking about your retirement or already retired, you're in the right place. My aim is to help you plan for and live a successful and meaningful retirement. Retirement is far more than just a financial event. It's a significant life event, a major transition, which will bring with it new challenges and opportunities. So each episode contains tips, information, and inspiration to help you feel more informed and confident about your retirement. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of the Retirement Cafe podcast. This week, I'm excited to share with you a conversation I had with Anna Dixon. Anna is the Chief Executive of the Centre for Aging Better, whose mission is to help everyone enjoy a better later life. She was heavily involved in Longevity Week, which we supported with our series called The Age of Resilience. And in this episode is the third of that series. She has a wealth of experience in social policy from time spent in government and academic organisations. She recently put all her knowledge and experience into a book, The Age of Aging Better, a manifesto for our future, which was published in June last year. In our conversation, Anna shares what drew her to working in the field of ageing, the actions we need to take as a society to improve the lives of our ageing population, and the results of a recent survey on the impacts of COVID-19 on those in their 50s and 60s. I so hope you enjoy my conversation with Anna Dixon as much as I did. So welcome to the Retirement Cafe podcast, Anna Dixon. Welcome, Anna.
Thanks, it's great to be with you today.
Anna, for those who don't know you, can you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, how you got where you got to, all that type of thing?
Yeah, of course. So currently I'm the Chief Executive of an organisation called the Centre for Aging Better. And we are a charity that works to ensure that everybody can have a good later life. And we do that by using evidence to influence policy and practice. I've been there 5 years. I was pretty much their founding chief executive. There was a board of trustees and they'd successfully raised some money. So it's been a really great opportunity to shape a new organisation working on an issue that I think is just so critical to our times, and perhaps even more so since COVID. Before that, I had a career which was mainly in health and social care, where I was particularly focused on how to improve the care experience for patients and their families. And again, worked in a range of roles, always at this sort of interface between the world of research and academia, so partly at the London School of Economics, partly the policy world, so I had a couple of stints at the Department of Health, but also in independent organisations. So I was at the King's Fund, where I worked as their Director of Policy.
Wow, what a career! The what drew you to this role then, and on aging and on longevity? What attracted you to this organisation?
Well, I think having worked in health and social care, I often saw that one of the main groups of users were people in later life, but there was always a sense in which it was always sort of the end of the process, and recognizing that aging is something that happens to us all throughout our lives, and that experience of aging can be very different for different people. I was really interested in working on some of the wider issues that affect how we experience later life, and that included housing, work, communities, as well as health. So really interested in looking at the wider issues that impact on how we age and how we can perhaps age better.
So currently, we're obviously, we've got, I think life expectancy for a male is about 86. And this is expected to grow dramatically, isn't it, in the next 20, 30 years? Do you feel that we look after and we care for and we have a good aging society currently? And then what improvements would you make going forward?
Well, you're right to say that there have already been huge improvements in how long we're living. So many of us can expect to live at least a decade on average longer than our parents. And another factor is that not only are we living longer, but particularly because of the baby boom during the 1960s, we're actually going to see quite a change in the sort of composition of the population, with many more people proportionate of the population at older ages. And at the moment, that's seen very negatively. There's a sort of sense in which more older people is a problem. It's a burden for society. And it's all about how much is the pension bill going to be, how much are we going to have to fork out on health and social care, and this idea that somehow it's other people who are going to benefit, rather than us actually waking up to the fact that no, we're the ones that are going to be living longer into the future. This is just our future selves, and actually we need to look at this a bit more positively about what we can do to enable people to live full and active lives for as long as possible. Would I say that at the moment we're headed for that sort of positive vision of where we can all have a good later life? No, I don't. And I think actually there are already worrying signs that the poorest women are actually, their life expectancy has gone into decline. And, those inequalities, not only in how long we live, but how healthy we live, are very dramatic. And if anything, I think will grow as the factors which affect how we age impact much more adversely on people at a poorer end of the income spectrum. Yeah.
Now, in June, you published a book, The Age of Aging Better, a manifesto for our future. Now, that's a grand title.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that manifesto for our future. What are the key takeaways from that?
Well, the book, for a start, The Age of Aging Better, has a question mark, at the end of that, and that's because, as I was saying, that it is possible, but only if we take action. And so the manifesto bit of it is the taking action. Now, normally a manifesto is largely about what should the politicians, particularly national politicians, do. And there are some things in there that definitely do need action by national government. And one of them is really they need to sort of wake up to aging as an issue, a serious issue, long-term issue that they need to address. Not, as I say, as something that's an issue just about pensions and social care, but it's an issue for the whole of government. And so one of the things I call for is for there to be a cross-government strategy. We've seen that in other countries who have successfully seen this and recognized the need for it. But the actions go much further than that. It affects every part of our lives, and it affects the world of work. So there are actions in there for employers to become more age friendly. There are actions there for house builders. We need to make sure that all the homes that we're building, we build them to higher levels of accessibility and adaptability so that they're future proofed and better meet the needs of an aging population. There are actions in there for us as individuals in terms of what we do with our time, how we think about our own work lives, and saving for our later lives. So it's a manifesto at many levels, and with action needed, as I say, across all sectors of the society and at all levels.
And are you hopeful, or are you seeing people embracing these changes which are necessary?
So I think we are seeing some, for example, employers who waking up to the fact that they can't just recruit young graduates and think that that's going to be enough, because the reality is that there are many more people every year leaving the workforce through retirement than there are joining at younger ages. But more than that, I think the really sort of insightful and leading employers recognise that having a diverse workforce, and as part of that, an age diverse workforce, is actually good for their bottom line. That those teams perform better, and that you do want that mix of different experiences, different ways of thinking. And the other, of course, is that they need people who understand their customer base. And as I've just said, already a very large proportion of the population are over 50, and half of household sort of consumer spend is in that age group already. So they're a big market. So if you're a business, you want people who understand those customers inside your workforce to design products, to design marketing strategies that are going to be effective to meet those consumer needs.
Yeah. And have you got any examples of companies you're kind of going, yeah, they're really getting it, they're really understanding what's going on here?
Well, there have been a number of companies that we have actively worked with, quite a number in financial services like Aviva and L&G, who have rolled out for their own employees things like a midlife check or midlife MOT to help people really think about that next stage of their career, but not just to think about their work and their finances, but to think about it alongside their health as well.
Yeah.
And they've also been doing things around looking at how they recruit and where they recruit, the language they use, but also looking hard at their own data by age. So obviously lots of companies do look at their data by things like gender, on issues of pay, of progression. And it's really important that they also look at age as a characteristic to see whether people of different ages are getting the same opportunities, or whether there is systematic bias within the workforce.
Yeah, I'm sure very valid. You've worked on a recent report with Ipsos Mori, the experience of people approaching later life in lockdown and the impact of COVID-19 on 50 to 70-year-olds. Now, this is obviously very topical. What were your key findings in this report?
Yes, well, at the Centre for Aging Better, we specifically try and focus on this approaching later life. So rather than trying to pick up the pieces, as I say, about people who perhaps are already experiencing challenges in later life, we want to try and shape this life stage so that people have a higher chance of a good later life. So we wanted to really understand how was COVID impacting on people of in this age group, 50 to 70. And it's a mixed picture. So we see that some people, 1 in 5, are exercising more, but a similar proportion are exercising less.
Right.
And, so some people perhaps who are more active in their work or in their travel to work maybe are more sedentary. Whereas some people are obviously getting motivated and taking more exercise, maybe because they're not commuting and are able to have more flexibility. So a different picture there. But we are seeing some worrying signs, with 1 in 5 reporting that their physical health is worse, 1 in 3 saying that their mental health is worse, and quite a number of people in terms of their finances, with about half saying that they expect their finances to deteriorate in the next year. But on the plus side, lots of people have been volunteering, helping out their neighbours. Around 3 in 10 have been doing that sort of informal volunteering, and 1 in 10 actually more formally signing up, perhaps for a charity or some other community organisation. So that's really positive, how we've seen communities coming together, and many of them want to maintain that. So the challenge will be, how are they supported to balance those community activities, that volunteering, alongside work. While we're working from home, for those who are lucky enough to do that, maybe have some flexibility. Obviously, people who've been on furlough had more time, but as they have to perhaps return to work, or there will be challenges, can we support people to continue these even if they find themselves unemployed? Because it will give them a lot of well-being and meaning in their lives if they can carry on doing that sort of positive voluntary work.
Yeah. And I think there must be, especially real challenges around mental health, real challenges of worrying about whether your career is going to be, finished if, depending on whether your organization survives this. And then, of course, people's other health needs may not be met because, of course, the COVID-19 has taken the priority within the NHS. So, I think there's challenges all around, isn't there? And do you think government could have, done more?
Well, obviously, it's interesting because this group were not originally in the sort of 70 plus vulnerable group who were advised to sort of take extra precautions. But I think there's been a recognition that actually some people in this age group are at risk because they do have poorer health, particularly people from poorer backgrounds, people who are obese. And obviously, we know there's a higher risk for men and people from BAME backgrounds. So I think, we need to recognise that there are people in this age group who are at risk from COVID and who may need to have extra support to, for example, not go to work. So there's a large number of people in this category are key workers who, the challenge there is they're going to often be in front line roles where they will be exposed to quite a high risk. So they're having to make some very difficult personal choices. And obviously, we're seeing very high numbers of individuals in this age group. In fact, similar numbers to those at younger ages who are being made redundant. Wow. The big difference between younger ages and older ages, at least what we've seen from previous recessions, is that older workers are much less likely to ever get back into work. So there's a real issue here that people might find themselves in this situation that we've seen before, where effectively they're early retired, but it wasn't what they planned to do. And actually, it's quite a long way to a state pension age now. And bridging that gap, you may have a small pension pot. You can draw that as early as 55. But is that the right thing to be doing? If you've spent down all your retirement savings, well, then you're going to be living on just state pension age, which, as we know, is not generous and does not afford a very good standard of living at all. So basically keeps people out of poverty, if that. So there's a real financial challenge and for us as a society. But I mean, for individuals, this is a huge personal cost to them, and we are very concerned that there is a pattern here of people in their 50s and 60s who the impact of COVID could result in them both having worse health, so being less healthy into later life, and also being much less financially secure than the generation that are currently in their 70s and 80s.
Mm. And what would you like? I mean, obviously, there's a whole tale of woes there. What would you like to see happen?
Well, I think there needs to be, as there has been for younger people, a sort of equivalent of a kickstart. We need a restart program that enables people whose jobs have been made redundant. They may not be able to return to those sectors. It may be that those jobs will not come back, and they need to have the support to retrain and reskill so that they can take advantage of new job opportunities as they come on stream and access some of the jobs that are available. So I think that's a really critical message, and that employment support is tailored for those people. We know that the generic employment support just doesn't work for that age group. So skills and training, proper and tailored employment support for 50 plus. I do think as well, we've got to put a big focus on a health boost for that age group. We know things like obesity, smoking, alcohol, differently patterned, but quite high levels in this age group compared to some of the younger ages. And so tackling those health inequalities, tackling those health issues, really boosting people's physical activity levels are going to be absolutely critical to have a healthier future.
Yeah. Well, hopefully your lobbying and direction might be listened to.
Well, yeah, we hope so. And Aging Better, we recognise that you can't put all the burden on individuals to make those changes themselves. I mean, obviously, some of us hopefully are motivated and to exercise and eat healthily, but for many, it's actually very challenging. And I think all of us find it challenging if you live somewhere with no green space, if you don't have access to affordable, healthy food. So we do need to make changes. We do need government to take actions, and local government to almost create an environment, create the opportunity for us to be healthy, and make that easier.
Yeah, wise words. Wise words. What's the key focus for Aging Better going forward?
Well, we have 4 priorities around things that we think need to change in order for people to have a better later life. And we're going to continue to persist. We're in a very fortunate position. We have secure funding. And we believe that if anything, COVID has heightened the need for us to address issues around how we make sure that people are healthy as they age, to make sure that the homes we spend so much time in these days are good for us, support a good quality of life now and as we age, that we are helped to be in good quality work for as long as possible, getting those people back into work and helping other people stay in and sustain good quality work. And finally, creating communities around us that provide us with the sort of social connections that we want. A lot of that shifted to digital. So another sort of strand to that, perhaps, that we will be looking more at than we were in the past is digital inclusion, and just making sure that everybody has the ability to fully participate and connect with one another through whatever means we have to during these times.
Yeah, great. Anna's been fantastic chatting to you this afternoon. I really appreciate your time. I know you're a very busy lady. Where can people find out more about your book and the work that you do and the Centre for Aging?
So,
the Centre for Aging Better.
Yes, Centre for Aging Better.
Right.
we Google us, Centre for Aging Better. We have a website. It's got loads of information on it. It also includes information about my book, The Age of Aging Better, but that's also available from all good bookstores. You can order through your independent local bookstore, or from Amazon, or from the publisher Bloomsbury. And it hopefully sets out some ideas that will challenge your listeners to think a bit differently about what they can do in whatever role they're in, or for themselves and their families, to help make sure that all of us age well and have a good later life.
Absolutely. And I think one of the key things that I hear all the time, and I think that it is within so many people's power, is that, we've got to act as a community. And as we all get older, that is going to be one of the most important things, the community and the connection. And I appreciate that it's difficult, excuse me, at the moment, with not being able to go out, etc. But getting a sense of community as a community ages is going to be really, really quite important.
Absolutely. And this whole idea of retirement is changing, and I think part of planning ahead for oneself is thinking about, how do I balance work, friends, family, community, and thinking about sort of what is the balance, so that I'm investing in those while I'm still working, so that when I do finally perhaps get to a point where I can both afford to and want to reduce the amount of paid work, that there are other things in life, and that there are people where you live rather than just work colleagues who you have a connection with and can be there for you as you age. And I think, as you were saying, if anything, we've come to appreciate the importance and value of those social connections and support that we have around us.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Anna Dixon.
Been great. Thanks very much for having me, Justin.
Thank you once again to Anna Dixon for taking the time to join me on the podcast. If you'd like to find out more about Centre for Aging Better and Anna's book, check out the show notes on our website at theretirementcafe.co.uk. You'll find links to all of the projects mentioned, as well as to other episodes in this series on the age of resilience. If you've enjoyed this episode, then please leave a review on Apple Podcasts to help more people like you to discover us. It really does help. If you've not already subscribed, please do so on your preferred podcast player or on our website so you don't miss future episodes. So until next time, this is Justin King helping you feel more informed in your retirement.